Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/cheating stories, where OP learned the hard way that you shouldn't let your girlfriend have any guy friends. Let's begin. I found out one of my girlfriend's guy friends was actually a former friend with benefit. Posted by Reddit user hostruff1888.
There's a bit of a backstory to this which is needed for more context. We've been dating for about a year and a half now. A couple months into the relationship, I had called her late one evening to ask a question. This was around 11 p.m. on a weekday, the night before her birthday. As we were talking for a bit, she said she couldn't talk much longer because she was busy. She then yelled out, "Be right down." I asked her playfully if she was talking to her dog, and she said, No, I have a friend over right now." She said it was Chris, who she had told me before when we had talked about past friends, relationships, etc. was a guy friend who had admitted he was in love with her in the past. I didn't ask any more questions and said goodnight and hung up the phone. The next day I told her we needed to talk about the previous night. We talked about it and it turns out he brought her a cake to her house by himself. Don't know who invited who over for her birthday. I told her I'd like to meet this friend of hers that had professed his love for her so I could put a face to a name, and to make me feel more comfortable with the situation. I told her I was a bit uncomfortable with the fact that she had a guy in love with her over at her place late at night, and was accepting birthday cakes and gifts from him. I told her it seems like she was leading him on still. She said it probably wouldn't be best to meet him. She explained that he doesn't really get along with other people, and it is a bit out there with his personality where he doesn't get along with any of her other friends. It was always just him and her that hung out. She said she would still ask him though if he felt comfortable meeting me in person. A month went by and she never brought it up again, and I didn't either as life got busy, and the relationship was going great still. Then one night, she texts me around 8:10 p.m. and says, "Oh, by the way, we need to talk. I'm going bowling with Chris at 8:30. It'll only be an hour or so." Not wanting to be that controlling or insecure boyfriend, I just said I hope she kicks his ass and left it at that. It rubbed me the wrong day though, and the next day I told her we needed to talk. I told her I felt disrespected that she told me she was going bowling with him just 20 minutes before, which was actually no time at all to talk about it and see how I felt about it. She knew I wanted to meet him in person, and it appeared she hadn't even tried for an entire month to make it happen. Then just randomly says she is going to hang out with him as if she completely put my ask on the back burner. She got defensive and started asking why I cared so much, and that she didn't think it was an issue of insecurity the first time I asked to meet him. But now after this time it seemed like an issue of my insecurity and that they were just friends. That's it. I responded and told her it's a matter of disrespect that it seemed she didn't care about my feelings to simply meet this guy who was in love with her in a group setting so I could put a face to a name, and that I felt she was putting this other guy's feelings of not wanting to hang out as a group above mine, her boyfriend. To her credit, she immediately texted him saying I wanted to meet him and sent me screenshots of him responding now is not a good time because he has family issues going on, etc. and isn't in a mindset to meet me in person. We basically wrapped up the call with her convinced I was just insecure about their friendship and me trying to explain it's a matter of respect and me wanting to just meet him simply to feel more comfortable with them hanging out together one-on-one. I told her to not stop hanging out with him, as I don't want to be controlling, and that was the last we had talked about it. Fast forward a year and a half, and we have been living together now for the past 6 months or so. It never came up again, and there were no other issues with guys in her life. I had no idea if she continued to hang out with him after that second time, and honestly I didn't really care. I completely trusted her. Also, the entire time we've been living together we've basically never gone out without each other anywhere, so I knew she wasn't hanging out with him. A few months back, we were hanging out with other friends playing some drinking game, and she was talking about a random time with him, some random story about a grocery store, and finished it saying they were no longer friends anymore. Now, she recently got a new phone and left her old one just laying around. My curiosity got the best of me wondering why they were no longer friends, and I went looking in her phone to see what happened. It turns out that they were actually friend with benefits for months before we had met each other, and that she continued being friend with benefits with him until a couple months or so before we made it official. She stopped being friend with benefits with him after he told her he loved her when they were on a weekend trip together. She had a ton of texts to her friends at the time saying how sexually attracted to him he was, that she had never been as sexually attracted to anyone in her life, and how she loved licking every inch of his body, but that he was a bit too immature for her. I found out that she continued to hang out with him one-on-one for months after the bowling incident, hanging out at each other's houses, more bowling nights, even having him pick her up and drive around to look at Christmas lights together. But there was not a single shred of evidence of infidelity on her part. Everything I saw made it seem as they were truly only friends while we have been dating, and that the last time they hung out together was around 7 to 8 months ago. My heart stopped as I was reading this, as deep down I knew something was off between their relationship. But I had pushed those feelings down out of fear of being labeled insecure if I continued to ask about the history of their friendship. Like I said, there was no evidence of her cheating with this guy, but I still feel so betrayed. She chose to lie by omission about this guy and tell me they were just simply friends. I feel so hurt and betrayed that she did not tell me the entire truth of their history. I'm assuming she felt if she did tell me everything, she would be guilted into stopping hanging out with him. I don't know what to do or how to bring this up. As far as I know, she did not cheat and has been extremely loyal to me based on other texts I saw on her phone. But I still can't help but feel betrayed and hurt by her lack of transparency. Now I'm wondering how many other of her guy friends were previous friends with benefits that she has not told me the whole story about. Should I even bring up this conversation? Or should I just let this issue die as they are no longer friends? TLDR. Girlfriend used to hang out with a guy friend early on in the relationship and got defensive when I had asked to meet the guy and hang out as a group so I could get to know him. Eventually, they stopped being friends. I snooped on her phone because I was curious what caused the fallout and found out they were actually friends with benefits for months before we started dating. I feel betrayed that she never told me the entire truth about that relationship. Don't know how or whether to bring this up as there was no evidence at all of her cheating with the guy.
OP, have some self-respect. It seems that her first loyalty was to him, not you. A friend with benefits professed his feelings to her, coming around to her place at 11 p.m. with cake. Come on. Really, my dude, that's definitely off. That's a super cozy date night in my opinion. That itself, at best, is emotional cheating. And trust me on this, OP, they definitely fucked that night. This is why I believe that if a woman is already in a committed relationship, then she shouldn't have any more male friends. Because let's be real here, the only reason those guys are friends with a woman is because they want to have sex with her. And no other reason. He will happily simp for her for years, and the moment she gives him the opportunity, that dude would come running with a raging boner. That's how weak men do it. That's how they operate. It's deceitful and it's disgusting. That is where the phrase "nice guys finish last" came from. Just break up with her, man. She clearly doesn't respect you. She's getting and loving the attention from another guy and keeping it separate from you, hiding it from you, and she's not planning on stopping anytime soon. She's not for you and you deserve better than this. Good luck. And now for today's second story. It's been almost a month since D-Day. Posted by Reddit user Lil Nia Beans.
I saw that he sent an ad for lingerie to another woman on Instagram. I confronted him, asked him to see his phone, and he said no. I was being unreasonable and my anxiety was out of control. I stormed away and he stayed downstairs while I packed, planning to crash somewhere for a few days. I really thought it was the end. He came up a few minutes later and threw the phone on the bed saying I could look through. I'm not an idiot, but I was scared too. I figured he'd been downstairs long enough that he had ample time to delete anything. He told me he understood, but he'd only gone to the bathroom. I didn't hear the toilet flush. I wanted so badly for this to go away. I really didn't believe he could do this to me. Before we were even together, we talked about infidelity, how he could never do that to someone because it had been done to him. I believed in that. But the night before our anniversary, I had to look. I couldn't go through our special day with any doubts. He gave me his phone to watch a video. My heart was racing, but I looked. He'd done exactly what I was afraid of. Everything with this woman was deleted. Every conversation they'd had before was gone. The subsequent conversation was suspicious, and it was clear he was staying with me, but she wasn't happy about it. I felt so sick. He carried me upstairs. I couldn't even say anything. I broke it off in the morning. I've never cried so hard in my life. I was throwing up foam. I didn't realize that I hadn't been eating until then. I couldn't even accuse him when it came down to it, really. He said he deleted everything out of respect for me. He didn't think I'd want to see it. I'm moving away. 1,000 plus miles away, back in with parents, which fucking stings. I'm losing my home, my future, my dog. I've written out letters and texts countless times saying I know, explaining that he never gets to be part of my life again. I know I need to, but I can never hit send. I know he wants to keep in contact. He's trying to use the dog, but I can't, I won't. I've just returned to state after scouting what's going to be my new home, and I need to get my things, but I'm terrified. I'm scared to go back there because I know I'm going to feel it as soon as I turn onto the street. Just thinking about the porch has me in tears. We were talking about marriage, kids' names, my dreams were coming to fruition. And now everything is ruined. I almost wish I'd never come back. Forget everything. Now for OP's update. I finally went to get my things from the house. I did the majority of it alone. I didn't want someone to see me get messed up because I knew it would happen. I expected crying. Don't get me wrong, I definitely cried, but I got angry. I'm not an angry person. I used to be when I was a teenager, but I've grown a lot since then. I don't raise my voice, and I'm able to keep level-headed when people say things that are inflammatory. Walking in the door, the majority of my things were in trash bags in the first room of the house. My plans on how to tackle everything went out the window, and I got angry. Angry he'd touched my stuff that was neat and folded before I'd left. Angry that he'd put out the jewelry box he got me, assuming I'd want it. I called my mom when I started throwing up. She's one of my biggest supporters and we're incredibly close. She'd offered to come initially, but there was a snowstorm and her car is lousy, so I didn't want her driving. She calmed me down and sat on the phone with me while I went back to it. I had this hamper that I used for recycling when I lived there, and I wanted to take it with me. The only problem was that it was still full of recycling, so I needed to dump it. I opened the top to dump it and boom, empty cardboard box for a vibrator. I started screaming. My mom was freaking out on the phone and told me she was on her way. I've never lost my temper quite like that. I'm relieved the neighbors didn't call the police and that the cop that lived across the street didn't make a house call. I knew that breaking things wasn't the thing to do, as it would possibly result in a lawsuit, but I wanted to. He'd brought some woman into my house and did things with her in our bed, on my duvet with a wand. I couldn't take the duvet with me anymore. No amount of bleach could fix this. I threw it back upstairs and texted him. I decided to let you keep the duvet, so add $150 to your bill for the furniture. It was actually a discount from what I'd paid. It was a really nice duvet. One of the first adult things I purchased for myself when I gained independence. I wanted to smash the rare record I got him for Christmas, to break the expensive chess set I bought him for his birthday. I kept imagining throwing the chess pieces in the backyard into the snow and cracking the marble board on the pavement. I called my dad and asked him to talk me down. He and I have butted heads in the past, so it meant a lot that he picked up, and more that he helped me level when I was spiraling. He'd been cheated on before, so I knew he was the right person to call. I was doing well with my regained composure, but my ex responded with sass. That's a little shitty. You can decide to leave things and increase what I owe you. I mean, the obvious answer was yes, I do get to do that. I paid to furnish the house you still get to live in. If I leave something that you're going to use, I'm getting compensation. But I went with the left hook of, well, you screwed someone on it, so I don't want it anymore. He feigned innocence. Classic gaslighting phrases were thrown around, and he got mad I'd insinuated it all. What the fuck are you talking about? I mentioned the box, the teeth whitening strips, and the bag of new clothes on the floor the last time I'd visited. His justification was that he and some friends went to a sex shop, went back to the house, and his friend that bought the toy took it out of the box before bringing it home. He doesn't have friends like that. I've been with this guy for years. He doesn't have people at the house. The hangout spot is his friend's apartment. If there was a specific friend, he would have said me a name because I know them all. I kept texting him I don't care to every justification he tried to give. He actually left work and showed up at the house to help. He was awkward. He looked pathetic, kept dropping things and bumping into others. He even took a spill down the icy stairs, which was karma in action. I was cordial, even made sure he was okay, checked him for bruises, etc. He'd been outclassed with me there. But when my mom showed up, he was outnumbered too. I let him help pack up the car. I did a final walk and gave him my key. He tried to get me to take the jewelry box that played our song. I politely declined. I thanked him for helping. I wished the best for him and walked out. I took the high road and it messed with him. I'm happy I found that box in the recycling. It gave me my spark back. I refused to let him try to steamroll me. I didn't accept his lies. When I saw him, I realized how small this person was. I didn't feel the need to lash out at him when I saw him. He's a sad person and lacks character. I'm better than him. Unhappy it's over. Hope they like the duvet. TLDR. I was moving out and found the box of a vibrator. I called out my ex for screwing someone on my sheets. He showed up, looked pathetic. I high-roaded him, which he couldn't handle, left the duvet, took the rest of my things and left. I feel lighter.
Kudos on you, OP, for letting the rage flow through your veins and show you what was there all along. A weak and pathetic man, and you truly are better than him. I think you've handled this situation marvelously, and I have no doubt that in a year or so, we will be reading an update about how far you've come since kicking his worthless ass out of your life. Well done, my friend. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my YouTube channel for you to watch absolutely free. So consider clicking that super thanks just below the video title, or you can use my PayPal in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, make sure to subscribe to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.